to the show. This is part 2 of a 3-part series where we talk about metamaterials, the company, and the products, and what you can expect this company to be doing. In part 1, we talked about the Torchlight dividend. In part 3, we'll be talking about shareholders and is there a chance that metamaterials might have a gamma or a short squeeze, right? And what are the chances of that? So back to part 2. So this is about the company, the products, what it plans to do, what are the long-term implications of the company, right? So to understand the company, we need to understand what a metamaterial is. And I'm saying a metamaterial is something that, because of its shape or structure, has vastly different characteristics and properties than something that doesn't have that shape or structure, right? So what do I mean by that? Let me explain. Let's start off with something that's not a metamaterial. It's let's start off with transparent glass, right? It allows light to pass through it while blocking air and water and things like that, right? So people often use this. I mean, one of the first common uses of this was for windows, right? You could open a window, let air in, or close a window, and just look outside without having cold air or hot air come in. Without having cold air or hot air come in. So, however, you can change the properties of what you see by adding a shape to that glass, right? Let's say you took you made one part of that glass curved, and you made the other side of that glass be flat, right? Now light comes into the glass. Let's say light is coming from the right towards the left. Light comes into the glass, and it hits the glass at an angle, and because it hits the glass at an angle, it bends, right? If we look at the light that comes in straight into the center of the lens, it doesn't bend very much. But the light that comes in at the edges of that lens, that bends a lot. And it bends because of the angle at which the light hits the lens, right? So that angle is what really matters. But anyway, once you have that shaped glass, this particular type of shape we call a lens, and it's used to magnify or reduce images, right? So lenses are useful in a variety of different applications. You can use them for eyeglasses. You can use them for projectors. You can use them for in cameras. They're useful as a magnifying glass, for instance. They have a large variety of different uses and a large variety of different areas they can be used for, right? They can be used as to look at things that are so small you can't see them, and we call those things microscopes. So that's a lens, and that's one of the things you can do with glass just by shaping it, right? But if we look at the shape, and we look at if we look at the lens itself, it's got a lot of material in the middle, right? And it doesn't have too much material on the edges. So we're wasting a lot of material. Is there a way we can make the lens a lot lighter in weight? And the answer is yes. Because it's the angle at which the light hits the glass that matters, we can just remove the elements in the middle and have structures that replicate that angle at the edges, right? And the first guy who thought of this was a guy called Rationale, and he says, "Hey, look, let's make a lens like this, without having to make one single smooth curved piece." He said, "Let's have these jagged edges all over the place, and they can be used also to shape light and to bring light to a focus, right? And not only that, by adding these jagged pieces of various different geometries, you can actually have a much larger area that you're concentrating the light to or from. And as a result, you've got a large You've got a lot less material. You've got a much larger area that you can affect with the light. You've got a flat geometry, and you've got a lot less weight. So you're lowering weight. So that's a Fresnel lens, and that operates really well. The interesting thing is, once you've come up with that particular shape, which is useful, you can take that same shape and apply it to you can even use that same shape with a different material. You don't have to use transparent glass. You can use transparent plastic. And if you were to do that, you can lower the cost significantly even more, right? So for instance here, you can buy 5 pieces of a page magnifier, which is basically a Fresnel lens, for about $8, or just a little over $1 a page magnifier, a little over $1 a Fresnel lens, and they're much larger than what you might see for a piece of glass, because they're about the size of an entire page. This Fresnel lens is, for instance, 7 inches by 4.72 inches by 0.12 inches, right? So it's about 1/8 of an inch thick. It's about 7 inches long and about almost 5 inches wide. And you can put that on top of a book and magnify an entire page at a time, right? So now, because you've utilized this particular shape and you've got this particular function, you've got it at a totally different price point. You've got it at a much more convenient, size. It's flat. You can just lay the entire thing onto a page. It's great, and that's what an example of what a metamaterial could be, right? If you look at it, this Fresnel page magnifier, because it's got various different shapes that are on the surface of it, it will actually cause an entire page to be magnified, and you can read it. So modern metamaterials actually operate on the micro or the nano structure. So by micro or nano, I mean structures that are so small the human eye can't actually resolve it. We can't see it because it's tiny, right? And they operate on the electromagnetic spectrum itself. So they can operate with visible light, but they also can operate with radio waves and electromagnetic waves, right? So there you go. And they can also be used to conduct heat and electricity in a transparent medium. So because they are these micro nanostructures that you can't see. So that's what a modern metamaterial is. And metamaterials, a company, takes advantage of these various properties, and they make the materials, and they also make the products that would utilize those special properties of the material, right? So, for instance, they make a laser glare protection device, right, which uses meta-air technology, which will bounce laser beams off a transparent medium. So you can, for instance, have eyeglasses or laser glare protection, and you can be protected from, your eyesight can be protected from laser damage. So that's one application, right? So here in this image, for instance, you can see in the bottom picture, the black and white picture, it says 550 nm. That stands for 550 nanometers. That's a picture of an electron microscope, and that actually shows you what the material is when it's enlarged, and you can see that it's a raised structure, right? And there are a large number of applications to it. Anyway, that's a technology platform, and that's what it can do. So, whoops, going the wrong way here. Okay, so what can this be used for? Now, once you've got a transparent window film, for instance, you can actually use that to reflect 5G signals. The next generation cell phone technologies, or the current generation cell phone technologies being 5G, it operates on something called line of sight, right? So the signals have to reach you directly, and they can easily be blocked by other things in the way. So, however, once you have this transparent window film, you can actually, instead of blocking the 5G signal, you can actually just reflect the 5G signal or bounce it off your window, right? So in that sense, you can use it in cities, and you wouldn't have to build as many cell phone towers, and you could still get cell reception in various different parts of the city. It's very useful. Alternatively, if you live in a city, you might be able to have this transparent medium on your window, and you might be able to bring 5G signals into your home, right? So Windows would normally just block 5G signals, but once you use this transparent window film, you can actually enhance signal penetration if you so desired, right? I mentioned before that it is a transparent medium that also conducts electricity and heat, so you can use it to protect your lidar device, right? You can have a nano heater, which can protect your sensors to radar and lidar simultaneously, right? So that has uses in the autonomous driving realm. Here's an example of what this NANOWEB or transparent sensor might look like. As you can see, it's transparent for the most part, and so this is an example of a meta-transparent 5G antenna. You can see right through it, and yet it can be used to reflect 5G signals, or in this case, to absorb 5G signals, bring them in, and it's an antenna that you don't have to actually see, right? And this can be used on things like cell phones, right? You can have an invisible antenna. And not only that, it can be used on folding phones because this NANOWEB is flexible. Right now, cell phones use a technology called indium tin oxide as their technology to bring electrical signals in, right? And unlike indium tin oxide, you can use this NANOWEB, which is flexible, so it can be used with foldable phones, right? The sensors are transparent. They can be touch sensors. They can be onto smartphone displays, and so there's a large variety of applications here, and a large variety of different uses, right? Again, I mentioned AR technologies before, augmented reality, and here you've got an example of augmented reality glasses, where you could project images onto this lens, and you could have relevant information based upon what you're looking at, right? As a result, Metamaterials is actually working with a company called Covestro to bring augmented reality to real life, right? So they are doing this right now. There's also applications for metamaterials in the biosensing area. So, for instance, one of their big deals is a non-invasive glucose meter, right? You can do glucose monitoring without having to prick your finger and to get a drop of blood. So that's another application. So, and finally, Metamaterials, a company, they recently acquired another company called Nanotech. Nanotech produces a metamaterial which is used to secure money, right? So this nanomaterial is placed onto paper money that's produced by various central banks and various governments. And because it's a nanotechnology, it's not easy to make. The only place you can make this right now is, or this type of material, is at Nanotech, and they put this material inside paper money, and it makes paper money very difficult to counterfeit. You can hold the Nanotech material up to the light, and it will reflect in various different ways, and it will actually cause money to be secure, right? So it adds a security mechanism to money. So it's quite good. They have deals right now that are worth that are actually going to bring in revenue, that do bring in revenue, and they are in the process of building out their factories. I mentioned before that Metamaterials partners with a large number of companies. The companies range in size from Lockheed Martin to Thermo Fisher, Airbus, what else? Boeing. You've got very large companies. Covestro is working in the augmented reality space. You've got companies from all over the world that are partnering with Metamaterials to bring this technology to their products and services, right? So, and these technology agreements are in place already. This is the executive team at Metamaterials. As you can see, a large number of them have PhDs, so they understand what these materials are, how to make them, what they do. And George Palikaris, for instance, he has a PhD in the realm of antennas, so he's an antenna expert, and that's why you see large amounts of 5G applications being developed with this transparent thin film, because that's the kind of area that he's an expert in, right? He's an expert in antenna design. Oh, let me go. And that's basically what Metamaterials, the company, aims to do. That's what they aim to provide. These markets are very large, so they intend to hit a large number of markets. And that's their future, right? That's the future of Metamaterials. That's where they're going. That's where the company is, and that's ends part 2 of this video series. So let me end by saying I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This information is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. So with that, goodbye.